So I thought it would just be fun and helpful today to just talk about a little concept that I will unpack a lot more in this space. But it's something I learned through dream tending. And it is this idea of the opened angle or opening the angle. And um, so I first learned about it because one of the first times that I went to a dream tending event, or maybe it was even when Stephen Eisenstadt came to my class when I was still in grad school, because he would come and he would do a afternoon with us dream tending and teach us kind of some of the basics of it. Uh, and one of the first things he talked about was uh, what happens when you tend to dream with a client. And normally if you've ever been to any kind of therapy that's based on um, psychoanalysis. There's an angle that happens between the client and the therapist. And if we think about Freud and word association, that's one of the techniques that Freud used to do. And whenever you see a New Yorker cartoon, there's always the person lying on the couch and they're kind of looking up and they're here and they're in their own space. And then there's the therapist, and they're kind of sitting off to the side, and they're not in the view of the eyes of the client, right? So the client's got kind of this open space to kind of be in dialogue with something, which is really their unconscious, their imagination. And word association was very much about that, just kind of associating out loud, trying to get behind the ego controlling the conversation and well, what image comes up and just say the word and all of that. So it's a, it's kind of a free floating experience. And then same thing with Jung. Jung was a psychoanalyst also. He didn't, I know he started in some ways working with people on the couch and stuff like that, but even not. There was this other kind of stance, and what Stephen brings to it is that he would be on stage, usually up on a riser, kind of demonstrating this, or in the front of a classroom demonstrating this. And you would see him, he would go from like facing outward completely to the audience, right? And the person's next to them. And you want to turn and kind of have the conversation. And he oh, just dropped something. And he would talk about how you that when you're doing dream work, you want to give room for the images and the figures to enter into the space. And so you wouldn't want to be facing the client and having that conversation. And you certainly don't want to be not facing them because you want to have some connection to them. But there's kind of this 45-degree angle that you do. And it's so much easier to demonstrate when we're in a classroom or in a space together. But basically it's like going like this, right? There's this angle now. So now imagining that like maybe we're on a stage and I'm interviewing someone, right? And so we can do this, but we're also there's this space over here, which if we were doing an interview, it would be an audience space. And certainly when we're in the dream tending space, when we do it collectively, uh, that's part of the, that's the quote unquote audience, even they're there. But he talks about this opening of the angle because we are inviting something in here. And so that's applies to the dream tending space, of course. Uh, and that's an important aspect of it because what we're inviting in is the figures. And when we do dream tending, we're starting with kind of a recitation, someone reciting their dream, and we're kind of intellectually hearing it and we're kind of getting the story down. And then we're having them make personal associations with the dream. Oh, this is my father. Well, yeah, this makes sense. My dad's in the dream because of this or that, or this is an airplane, and then we start doing the symbols and the archetypes. So what might an airplane mean? Or, what is, oh, you're in a castle. What does a castle mean to you? And is there a moat or not a moat? And we're talking about like the symbolism of everything, and that's a different level. And then we drop down and we go through all of that stuff And this is some of the stuff we will absolutely learn and do inside this program. But then we drop down into another level when we're in the dream, and there's a way to do that where we actually invite the dream into the space we're sitting in. And we invite the figures, and or maybe it's a landscape or an object or something. It's amazing when I do this work with people who've never done anything at this work at all in any way. Um, and I'll ask them something like, well, if let's say there's a tiger in the dream, and I would say something like, well, if Tiger was in this space, where would Tiger be? And usually it's a half a second beat, and they'll go, oh, Tiger's right there. And and you're like, great, okay, so Tiger's there. And so now this is the imaginal realm we're in. We've opened the angle and now we're in it. And now it's a very different aspect of our mind and our intelligence that is present. We are not just talking symbols, we're not just talking our own personal story. Now we're in a resonant space with the figure or object or landscape. And eyes open, the person does it. They can talk about the dream. They can be inside the dream with their eyes open with while they're in the space. And we're bringing that intelligence into the experience of our presentness, our supposed matter, full of matter, hard matter life, right? But everything is, as we know, it's everything is m, you know, energy, E equals mc squared, right? Energy is matter, and matter is energy. So we're bringing a relationship to things in that way, and we're playing with all of this. But this opened angle is not just for dream tending. And that's the point I just want to make here is that what we're actually doing all year in this mystery school is we are getting to see that in every moment is the open angle, that every moment is a chance to be in relationship with the objects around us as potential companions. And it doesn't overwhelm, and there's a difference here between someone who's psychotic and does not have a cohesive sense of self. And for them, everything is real and they can't be in anyone else's shared reality. We're not doing that. And that's why I make sure that people who work with me don't have a history of that and aren't prone to that. And that's not safe for people like that to do this kind of work. But for most of us, we are so locked into the other world of the ego and the concreteness of this reality that it takes time and practice and a cohort to go through this stuff together, to let this information be real to us. And one place you find this really easily and openly is if you read poetry. The poets get this. The poets are already in relationship, and especially the romantic poets. Like the romantics, the romanticism was a time when this energy was very present. But two of my favorite modern poets are ones that I rely on all the time, and people who know me and have worked with me a long time know who I'm going to say. But David White and Mary Oliver are two people who really, really get this, and especially David White, because this is David White's work in the world also, is to open us to new eyes, open to the mystery, open to the magic, but open to the reality of the resonance and the mystery and the meaning of life. And so this opening of angle is really the work we're doing. That's really what mystery school is about, is opening the angle, let it being real, uh, and and sourcing from that space as much as we source through our left brain, our rational mind, our intellect, all that stuff's important and good, but adding this to it also. And I'm really excited because I myself have felt that I have only allowed myself to live into this opened angle in certain rooms and in certain places and around certain people. And I have given myself permission in my what I'm calling, someday Taylor Swift will have her witchy hag era. But this is my witchy hag era, where I get to bring this up no matter where I am. And of course, we all know audience is important and circumstance is important. And, we don't want to be one of those people that jam stuff like this down anyone's throat. But to really, really know that I'm free to walk on the planet. And so I really want to give other people this freedom too. So I'm super excited about this piece of it and excited to use this metaphor of the opened angle to bring so much of this work forward and to know that everything we're going to do this year is in service of that, and then some. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that part.